All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's dive into the gear list for 2026. Now, before we dive into the video, if you stay tuned to the end, I'm gonna let you know how you can win this SIG Oscar 6 image stabilized spotting scope. Let's dive right in with packs. So it is no secret that my favorite pack is the XO K4. Now, I have 3 different bags that I utilize on that frame. I use the 5000, the 7800, and the Territorn from Shoot to Hunt. Obviously, each of those for different lengths hunts and different requirements. I do think it's time I do another big backpack review. I've gotten a lot of requests for the initial Ascent, which I've never reviewed, and then a lot of requests for the Kifaru Arc frame, which I've also never worn. So if you agree you want to see those two, or if there's any others you want to see, drop them in the comment section below. In addition to that, I run an MEC Sil Nylon rain cover. It's literally just a run-of-the-mill 100 liter Sil Nylon rain cover. Nothing special about it. I think it was 30 bucks. MEC is like Canada's version of REI. I probably only bring that on 15 or 20% of my hunts. But if I'm going to be using a particularly small tent, I will bring a rain cover because then I can keep my backpack outside of the tent and or vestibule. Also, it works great for catching water, either in rainy conditions or dew overnight if you're in like a high country sheep or goat hunt. There are 3 main shelters that I'm going to be using next year. That is the Durston X-Dome 1 Plus, the Argali Absorka 4-person teepee, and then my Zpacks 7x9 Dyneema tarp, which is more of like a rain shelter, glassing tarp type of situation, but you could definitely bivvy out in it overnight, or if you got caught on the mountain, it would definitely make your evening a little more pleasant. I have not run the Durston X-Dome 1 Plus, but I know enough people that have that I'm very confident it's going to find a place in my schedule for next year. And so really, if it's a mountainous hunt where I'm extremely worried about weather and I need the stability of a freestanding shelter, I'm going to take the X-Dome. If I've got a little bit more timber and I'm a little bit less concerned about weather, or if I have a hunting partner with me, I'll take the 4-man teepee. For sleeping pads, right now I'm running 2 different ones. I'm running the Big Agnes Zoom 25x78 and then the Therm-a-Rest NeoAir Xlite NXT. These are extremely similar pads. The Therm-a-Rest is about 1.5 ounces lighter than the Big Agnes. The Big Agnes is a full rectangular shape. The Therm-a-Rest has more of a mummy shape to it. I'd say the Therm-a-Rest is maybe a 1/4 inch thicker. The most notable difference being the R value. Now these are stated to be very similar. I believe the Big Agnes is 4.3 and the Therm-a-Rest is 4.5. In practical application though, the Therm-a-Rest is significantly warmer. I would put the real world R value for the Big Agnes somewhere around the low 3s, 3.1, 3.2, and I would say the R value for the Therm-a-Rest at 4.5 is quite accurate. So the only real circumstance that's gonna drive which of those I'm gonna take is weather. I find the Big Agnes Zoom marginally more comfortable because it's a full rectangular shape and it has vertical baffles, with the outer baffle being about 1/2 inch thicker, which keeps me from rolling off the side and keeps my arms from slipping off the side of the pad. But if it's gonna be a late season hunt and I'm worried about how cold my sleeping is gonna be, I'll bring that Therm-a-Rest. Currently have 3 different sleeping bags in the rotation. An Enlightened Equipment Enigma 50° Fahrenheit quilt, an Enigma 20° down quilt, and then recently I just got an Outdoor Vitals 15° Fahrenheit down quilt with the Expedry down. I've had to do a slight modification to that quilt and I'm waiting to get that back from the sew shop right now. The way it ships didn't really work for me. I'll do a whole video on that later on. Listen, I run a 50° quilt most of the year. I think I'm gonna bump that up a little bit for next year. There was some situations where that just didn't dry me out as well as I would like it to overnight when I got caught in some pretty heavy rain. I would say if you just want the do-it-all quilt, I would get a 20° down quilt. And until I have a chance to really review the Outdoor Vitals, as always, the Enlightened Enigma As always, the Enlightened Equipment Enigma is my favorite, and the reason for that is it gives you the most room and it's the most versatile. I do think they are marginally understuffed compared to an Outdoor Vitals or a Katabatic, so I would take their temperature ratings with a grain of salt. For a ground sheet, I literally have either a piece of Tyvek or I have a Dyneema ground sheet from Zpacks that I like to use. It's like $100. You do not need to spend the $100, but if you just like buying nerdy gear, it does come in handy and it is super light and packs up super small. The pillow that I ran all year this year and will continue to run next year is the Argali Elite Dream. This is basically a stuff sack with a little bit of insulation and a nice kind of fleece covering on the top. Super comfortable. My favorite pillow by a country mile. Now let's get into some apparel and stuff that we're gonna wear. So for base layers, I have three main ones. The Kuiu Tiburon, the Gohan Approach, and the Stone Glacier Avro. If I could only own one of those, I would own the Stone Glacier Avro. But the Tiburon is fantastic for very early season hot weather hunts. There is not another base layer with the durability and the hot weather performance that the Tiburon has. It's phenomenal. The Avro is a great do-it-all. And the Approach from Gohan is a really nice value option. So if I'm gonna take in two base layers with me, or if I'm bear hunting and I switch midweek, that Approach makes a fantastic second option. Again, it's not super lightweight. It would fall more into like the mid-season category, like the Avro from Stone Glacier. Now, my favorite pants are also from Stone Glacier. Those are the de Havilland. Again, not super light like the Avro. They're okay for like mid-September onwards, but when you have really hot weather hunts, I like something a little bit lighter. I did run the Altura Dynamic pants from Outdoor Vitals this year that the guys from EXO had a hand in developing. They didn't knock those out of the park for me. I think they're a very satisfactory pant. I'm gonna have a full review posted in a couple weeks, but they didn't blow my mind. You know, for me, I want knee pads in my pants. I do a lot of archery hunting. I just like having knee pads in my pants. And the fact that you can't put knee pads in those pants was a bit of a miss for me. So pants, and specifically early season pants, are something I'm still continuing to test. I really liked the Ridge pants from King's Camo. Again, they're like an 8 out of 10 for me. I've always liked the Ascent from Sitka, but with fit and whatnot, again, an 8 out of 10. I really haven't found the perfect early season pant yet. There's two that I'm looking forward to testing. Brad from Argali is coming out with a new pair of pants that I'm looking forward to. And then I am gonna be driving through Vegas in a couple weeks on my way to Arizona and Mexico for Coos Deer. And I think I'm gonna stop in and see the boys at Go Hunt and pick up a pair of their new lightweight pants. Because again, they look kind of similar to the Altura in design, few more features, and they do have knee pads. So I'm looking forward to testing those. But definitely, if any of you guys have found a lightweight early season pant with knee pads that just knocked it out of the park, please forward that info to me. I'd love to give them a try. Now for boots, I got a little bad news for you here. My favorite pair of boots is discontinued. So those are the Alverstone 2 GTX from Hanwag. I love these boots. They are damn near perfect. If they had a heel welt and a toe welt on them and were about 15% stiffer, I would literally use those boots 365 days a year. But unfortunately, you can't buy them anymore. The second boot that I had a lot of success with this year were the Meindl Glockner. You can go watch my full review on those boots here. Now they are a heavier, more alpine, mountain-based sheep, goat style boot. So not really great for just your run-of-the-mill elk or deer hunt. They're like a little bit overkill, a little bit too stiff, and a little bit too heavy. I do have a brand new pair of Scarpas that just got released that I'm gonna be testing in Arizona and Mexico. And Scarpa actually has 3 more boots that are specifically focused on hunters that are supposed to drop this spring that I should be able to get my hands on as well. And I'll keep all you guys updated on that because I think boots have been very challenging for everybody to find. Now for a hat, obviously it's gonna be the waterproof ball cap from Forged. Now I cannot share with you the exact details as far as socks go, but I will say this. I have been working on something for over 9 months, and early in the new year, there will be a brand new best-in-class option available for socks. And as soon as I have firm dates and details, I will release all those. But I can guarantee you that I have found the best sock I've ever worn, and it is the sock I will be wearing for all of 2026. For trekking poles, basically two options. I got the Stick 4.2 from MTN Gear, and then I'm gonna be trying the new Durston Iceline poles this year. And so depending on the hunt, I will take one or the other. Gaiters, I'm sticking with the Ape Silverbacks. They worked extremely well for me in 2024 and 25, and I have no plans on switching in 26. Now for watch, you have noticed that I've been running a Garmin Phoenix for the last 2.5 years. I quite like this watch. I think it's a little bit overpriced and, you know, there's definitely some room for improvement. But Cody and the guys over at Bridger Watch have just dropped the Reckon. There should be one on the way to beta test to my shipping address here in the next couple weeks. So that is the watch that I will be wearing and testing, and I will get some early feedback to you guys as soon as possible, because I know a lot of you guys are waiting to see whether or not it lives up to the hype and find out if you should drop the money on it. My EDC knife is not changing for 2026. It will continue to be the Benchmade Mini tagged out with the carbon fiber handle. I love this knife. It stays in my pocket perfectly. I never lose it. It's ultra light, super sharp, love it. Now, let's talk active insulation. The Sitka Ambient has been dethroned as my preferred active insulation piece, and it has been replaced with the Outdoor Vitals Pursuit Hybrid Fleece. Unlike the pants, I really feel like the guys at Outdoor Vitals did knock this one out of the park. It's significantly different from the Ambient in a few really important ways, and I should have my final review posted in a couple weeks, and I'll dive into some more details for you. For static insulation, I have two pieces that I go back and forth between, and that's the Stone Glacier Grumman and the Outdoor Vitals Vantage Alpine down jacket. Now, the main difference here is packability and warmth. The Outdoor Vitals probably packs up to be about 15 to 20% larger, but is also about 15 to 20% warmer, and I would say 15 to 20% more durable. So if it's a true late season hunt, I'm taking that Outdoor Vitals Puffy. But if it's more of like a mid-season, early season where I'm bringing a Puffy kind of just in case and I want the best warmth to weight ratio possible, I'm still sticking with the tried and true Grumman. For rain gear, I still haven't found anything better than the Sitka Dew Point for the vast majority of the areas I hunt. Obviously, it's not heavy duty rain gear. If you're gonna be in Southeast Alaska, or if you're gonna spend a lot of time on the coast in British Columbia, I would get something more heavy duty. But for the vast majority of hunters that just run into occasional rain, I still think the Dew Point is the perfect rain system for hunters. For puffy pants, I rarely wear them. The pair that I own is the Sitka Kelvin 3/4 length. They're okay. I use them because I own them already. I don't think I feel so strongly about them that I would tell you to like run out and go buy a pair. They work, but again, I can't even remember the last time I wore a pair of puffy pants. My bottom half really doesn't get that cold, and as long as I'm taking care of keeping my core temperature up, I don't find the need to wear puffy pants on the bottom very often at all. Now for gloves, I really have four main options here. A pair of mechanics gloves that I always keep in my backpack. They're kind of the do-it-all, best all-purpose gloves I have. I also have a pair of Showa Japanese fishing gloves, which are completely rubberized on the outside and have this kind of like fleece internal, super waterproof, super warm. In addition to that, I have a couple different pairs of like 3-in-1 gloves and mitts. That's basically an outer shell with an insulated mitt or glove that I can wear on the inside for true late season or winter hunts. And then the last pair of gloves that I tend to bring on a lot of hunts is a pair of really thin merino liner gloves with the touch sensitive fingertips so I can still use my phone and make fine adjustments on my spotting scope. And I find those are a very practical glove. The durability is garbage. I rarely get more than a season out of those, but they're like 20 bucks a piece. And so I just buy a new pair every season. For a beanie, I'm sticking with the Sitka Jetstream. It's perfect to wear at night when it's chilly, wear in the morning when you need to glass. And it's a great kind of super lightweight all-purpose beanie. I'll still continue to bring a pair of Crocs with me on most hunts. It's one of these like luxuries that I know I don't need, but it makes my hunts a lot more comfortable. So let's talk glass. So my main spotting scope is is going to continue to be my Kowa TSN 88A. I just bought that this year. I absolutely love it. It is as close to perfect as a spotting scope can get, in my opinion. But in addition to that, Maven just sent over the fairly new Maven S1.2A with the new high power eyepiece that goes from 30 to 65x. That's an 80 millimeter scope. So I'm gonna bring that with me to Arizona and Mexico, and we're gonna do some head-to-head battles between it and the Kowa. But it's significantly cheaper than the Kowa. Obviously, with a smaller objective, it's not gonna be a true head-to-head battle, but I'm interested to see if that's gonna be a good value option for a lot of hunters that don't wanna jump into the ultra premium spotting scope market. Binoculars are no secret. I have 3 pairs that I switch between. It is the SIG Zulu 6 10x30, 12x42, and 16x50. I did an exhaustive video right here detailing when you would take each of those on what specific hunt. So if you have any questions, go watch that video. The only other pair of binoculars I take on even a somewhat regular basis are the Maven B5 15x56s. I love those binoculars. They have fluorite glass. They have the best glass of any binocular that Maven makes. I wish Maven would make a 10x42 with the same fluorite glass as the B5 and not the ED glass that their current, I think it's the B1.2 is a 10x42 uses. It's an ED extra low dispersion glass, not a fluorite glass. But if I'm gonna put something on a tripod and really pick apart a hillside in that like 3/4 of a mile to 1.5 mile range, those 15s from Maven are phenomenal and they're very aggressively priced. Bino harness, I'm running the Stone Glacier Sentinel. I will hopefully have a full review up on that in the next few weeks as well. It is the single best all-purpose solution I have found for a guy who wants to carry a lot of stuff on his chest. Rangefinder, phone, accessory pocket, binoculars, wind checker, extra magazine. It really is as close to a perfect bino harness as I have found yet. Still a couple tweaks I would make to it personally, but it's damn good the way it is right now. Rangefinder, going to continue to use the SIG 8K. I do not have the new 2nd gen one out yet. Crossing my fingers, maybe SIG will send me one to review when it gets released. For tripods and panheads, I am running the Asiack front country when I want to stand up, back country when I don't need to, and I am running the Wiser Nighthawk when I don't need to shoot, the Ridge Warden when I do need to shoot, and I'm just about to test the new Asiack Vantage panhead, which I'm pretty excited to look at. For Digiscoping, I'm all in on the Epic Outdoors Mountain Mag system, so I've got attachments for all of my binos, all of my spotting scopes. Once he made a couple tweaks to the system, and he also sent me a new phone case that had a stronger MagSafe attachment on the back. And when those 2 little issues were fixed up, it kind of completely replaced the All-In for me. I still think the All-In is a great system, but the versatility and the lightweight of the Mountain Mag, it just really shines for me. And the fact that I can use it on any case and I can take the adapter off whenever I want and it just fixed in my bino harness, it really is for me the perfect solution. And again, that ability to use the 5X lens that no other Digiscope adapter really has, except for the capture. And let's be honest, I reviewed that thing. It's kind of junky. So yeah, Mountain Mag for me all day. All right, time for some fun stuff. Let's talk about the rifle. So I just did a huge video on my rifle right here if you want any more details, but it is essentially a Tikka T3X in 6.5 PRC with a Maven RS 1.2 scope, a 4-port stainless steel brake from Unknown Munitions in a rock stock. I've hand loaded with 147 ELDMs, currently going about 29-30 feet per second. Very happy with how that load development is going. And that's what I'm taking down to Mexico with me for Coues deer. Now the exception to that is for 2026, Unknown Munitions is building me a 6mm UM Corax. Now the Corax is their new line of rifle that will basically incorporate an ace barrel, a Raven action, which is a Tikka clone action, and a rock stock, most likely with the new rock scope on top of it. And that's gonna be an all-in-one package that Unknown is building. that will be somewhat like a hybrid custom rifle and fit into that like fierce gunworks kind of territory, but they're attempting to fix some of the issues that hybrid market has been plagued with for the last few years. So I'll keep you guys updated as soon as I get my hands on that new Corax. I am using the Slim Claw Sling from Quake. I love that thing. I hate slings, and this one has been a game changer for me. I'm not a big like shoulder strap, instant detach sling guy. I have garbage shoulder mobility. I've never found one of those that works really well that you can put back in place without having to take your backpack off. So for me, I either just keep the rifle strapped to my backpack or I carry it with a sling. And that Slim Claw really grabs onto your shoulder, doesn't slip off all the time. Love it. I also tend to carry a jellyfish and a molinator. These are 2 shooting bags from Shoot to Hunt. I love the versatility that they add to my shooting system. And a lot of people might be shocked by this, but I just bought a Tracer RP bipod to take with me to Mexico and to test out. So I had said pretty strongly that I was moving completely away from bipods and I was gonna shoot solely off bags. I've done a bunch of testing, and I don't think it's shocking to say that there are definitely situations where one can shoot better off of a bipod than shooting bags. I'm not gonna say all the time, but they're there. And specifically for this Coues deer hunt, I need maximum precision and I'm gonna have time to get set up. And I was at the range with my buddy Daryl. He had that Tracer RP bipod and I was extremely impressed. And I've used a half a dozen different bipods over the last 2 years. And I can say this, out of everything that I've tested, for the price point of the Tracer RP and the weight that it is, I am extremely impressed with the performance. So I'm not saying that's my full signature sign off. This thing's great, go buy it. I barely used it yet, but let's just say I am extremely optimistic at how good this thing is gonna turn out to be. Now for water purification, I've got 4 options that I'm gonna be using this year. The Katadyn Bee-Free, the SteriPen, a gravity-fed filter, and some kind of pump filter. Now the gravity-fed filter and the pump filter, I've still gotta get. I have a couple different options I'm looking at, and I'm gonna do a whole series on water purification. But I think if you could only have one of those, I used to say get the SteriPen, but part of me is leaning more towards the Bee-Free now. It's a little more bulletproof. Some people have had SteriPen issues. I've never had them personally, but for an all-in-one solution, I think the SteriPen or the Bee-Free would be your best bet. The rare exception is if you're on the top of a mountain and you're like taking water out of an elk wallow, or you've got like a mucky swamp and you need some type of pump with like a distributed filter that you can put on top that'll just be able to suck water out of little seeps and stuff, then having some kind of hand pump is invaluable in those situations. I was on a partner elk hunt this year, and if my buddy hadn't had his hand pump, we would not have been able to get water where we were able to get water in a couple situations. All right, let me just run through some one-offs here. I continue to use a Therm-a-Rest Xlite sleeping pad that I've cut into like a half basically for my glassing pad. The North Shore Mallard is my go-to processing knife right now. For the price point, the weight, the versatility of the blade, I just love that knife. I love everything about it. For game bags, I'm actually using the Argali Guide Series large meat on bone bags. And for most animals, I only take 2 bags. I used to take 4 of the smaller bags, but I've found that for packing the meat on a meat shelf, I'd rather put half the animal in 2 bags each. In those big bags for a regular sized deer, I can put a hind quarter, a front shoulder, a back strap, tenderloins, and half a neck roast. I put each of that in 1 bag each. And then when you go to lay it down on your meat shelf, it's way easier to contain in that 1 bigger bag than having 2 bags that you're kind of trying to lay on top of each other. So if I'm not going after elk or moose or something gigantic, I will literally just take 2 of those large meat on bone bags. Satellite messenger, still running the Garmin 66i. I will probably move to one of the mini InReach messengers this year. Coffee mug, I still take my GSI Microlite 500 mil. Absolutely love that thing. Switching battery packs this year to the Nightcore NB 20000 Gen 3 first significant advancement in battery technology in like a decade. This thing is coming in at just over 10 ounces for 20,000 milliamp hours at $100. It's a phenomenal battery. Really excited to add that to the system. Solar charger. I have an Anchor, but you can't even buy that one anymore. And so people always ask me which one to use. I'm gonna buy 2 or 3 different solar chargers and test those this year. I use a 1 liter ultralight Nalgene for my drinking bottle. I don't tend to use like a Camel pack anymore. For a water bladder, I bring a 6 liter Dromlight. But if I'm also going to bring a gravity fed water filter, I will not bring the Dromlight because most of them have a 4 liter dirty bag and a 4 liter clean bag, which gives you 8 liters of water storage if you need it. So there's no need to have an additional 6 liter Dromlight. And then Wiggy's waders, I put those on here because I love those things. They only weigh 11 ounces. And if there's a bunch of creeks in your area, it's great to just have in the kit. Now, one quick note before we carry on with the rest of the gear list. By the time this video goes out, there will be less than 10 days left in the once a year sale I am having on my outfitted hunts in British Columbia. So right now, you can save $500 on all of my black bear and mule deer hunts for 2026. In addition, if 2 people book together, I will knock off an additional $250, which means you can save up to $750 off per person as long as you book any black bear or mule deer hunt for the 2026 season by December 31st, 2025. So to get any more information or make a booking, hit me up, jay@mindfulhunter.com. All right, making a pretty big adjustment to the stove this year. Chris over at Rough Ridge is sending me a prototype of one of their stoves so I can take it down to Arizona and New Mexico with me. I've been looking at this thing. I'm super jacked about it. Obviously, I will be skeptical and keep an open mind, but looking forward to adding that into my system and testing it for 2026 because I know a lot of you guys have been curious about how well it's going to actually operate. Headlamp, just did a video on this right here, Phoenix HM62T. It dethroned the Peaks. The only caveat, the red light on the Peaks is better. 100%, I'm not gonna debate that. But for the amount that I use a red light, the Phoenix HM62T's red light is more than sufficient. So that's the headlight that I'm gonna be using for 2026. I keep a mini Petzl headlamp in my Possibles kit. I also have a first aid kit. I always keep some toilet paper and wet wipes in my Ziploc bag. And I'm not gonna touch on food in this video because it's too in-depth. So if you wanna see my food plan for 2026, drop a note in the comment section below and I will do a completely separate video on that. All right, before we dive into the rest of the video, I promised that I would tell you how you could win the SIG Oscar 6 image stabilized spotting scope. Do you like the way I do reviews? Do you find it beneficial that I have no financial obligations with any brands whatsoever? And the only thing that I need to care about is delivering value to you. If you find that helpful and you want to support me making more content, the best way to do that is by joining Mindful Reviews. So all you need to do is go to mindful-reviews.com, sign up for any one of the subscription plans. They start as low as $5 a month. And if you sign up before December 31st, 2025, you will be automatically entered to win the SIG Oscar 6 image stabilized spotting scope. And I sincerely appreciate the support. We've had a ton of signups in December because of this promotion, and I really appreciate the support, and it just makes me that more fired up to create that much more content. All right, folks, there you go. My base gear list for 2026. Is there anything I missed? Is there anything you think I should be testing that I don't have on the calendar to test? Please drop a note in the comments section below. Engage with the content, like, comment, share, subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, thank you for tuning in.